Hi, this is Julie with Accomplished Quilting. Today we're going to talk about the Innova Lightning Stitch control panel. We'll go over the basic functions of it and how to use it in stitch regulated mode and also in manual mode. At the top of your screen, it shows you the speed. While you're stitching, it will actually register how many stitches per inch the machine is stitching. The maximum is 3,000, and your lightning stitch can actually regulate up to 3,000 stitches in a minute. It's incredibly responsive. The next thing you'll see on the screen is the R. R stands for reset, and it's used to reset the bobbin indicator that shows what percentage of thread is on your bobbin. Oops, I'm not hitting reset. Right now there's 100%, and it'll tick down until it gets to 0% so that you know when your bobbin is low. You can also adjust a factor under setup for making the bobbin winder use different weights of thread. On the right, we see the stitches per inch that are set. Right now it's set at 3 stitches per inch. So if I turn the machine on with this green button on my handle on the right side, it's actually using lightning stitch speed to do basting. To change the stitch length, just use your finger or a cursor on the small box, and you can program in anything from 2 up to 22 stitches an inch. The standard is between 10 and 12. Let's use 11. And you have to remember to hit enter, otherwise it won't register or save the new stitch length. So now we're going to stitch. The pickup will do 1 stitch at a time. Which you can use for bringing up your thread. The jog button just moves the needle a little bit. The tie off button will give you small stitches when you start and stop. So we can use the pickup to bring up our thread, and then the tie off to get started. You do have to make sure you move the machine just a little bit so that you don't get all the stitches right on top of each other. If you'd like to have a different amount of tie off stitches, go to setup, and ours is set at 4, but you can set that from 0 on up. So let's put 5 in and enter, and then we go to previous. Now when we do the tie off, we got 5 stitches. The mode you'll probably use the most is regulated. If you want to stitch in manual, you'll just touch that and this bar will point at manual. There's another mode of operation called E-quarter, and that will only be used with our couching attachment, the E-quarter or the sequin stitcher. On the left, there's sensitivity can be adjusted. If you're doing detail work, you may want to raise this up so that the needle responds more quickly, but for free motion quilting, it's okay for it to be somewhere in the middle. That's a personal preference that you should play around with and see how you like it to feel, and that will be something that you get used to, and maybe you can even take notes on what kind of sensitivity you like for certain kinds of quilting. Down at the bottom, we have an X, which closes the program for lightning stitch. You will rarely use that. If you close out of the program and you can't get back in, the best thing to do is just turn off the machine and turn it back on. The next thing is diagnostics. We recommend that you only go into the diagnostics while you're talking to a technician. To get out of it, you hit previous, and then under setup we have quite a few different features that you can personalize. The first one is bobbin length. That refers to the factor for the low bobbin alert. Under manual speed, it shows what speed it's going to start at when you have it in manual speed. The start speed, or minimum sew speed, on this one is set at 0. When you're doing stitch in the ditch, or most of the time you'll have that set at 0. If you would like to have a coast feel to how your stitch regulator works, you can change this between 100, 200, or 300. Oops. Backspace. And then enter. So the next time we start, instead of it starting at 0, it's going to actually start stitching at 300. So it gives your stitch regulator a little bit of a head start. The encoder diameter is something you won't change unless you're talking to a technician. The tie-offs we already talked about. And the thread break sensitivity is when it's on 0, it is off. The recommended setting for those who have thread break sensor is 3. This one doesn't have a thread break sensor, so it's off. When you're done, you go to previous, and there's one thing I didn't talk about, it's the needle positioner. If you wanted to stop the needle up, you just make sure that it's up on this screen. If you want it to stop the needle down, make sure it's down. And then we'll go to previous. So let's see what the coast regulation is like. When I turn on the stitch regulator, I'm going to have 11 stitches per inch, but I won't start at 0, I'll have it starting really fast. And you'll see if I pause, like if I'm doing a feather or something, I might want to slow down when I get into the points. It gives me more control if I have the coast regulation on. So let's get started here. Now we're going to go into the setup and turn off the coast feature. We have 300 stitches as our minimum start speed. We're going to put that to 0 and hit enter, and then you'll see how it actually starts and stops much more quickly. So now when I tap my green button here, the machine won't run at all until I start moving the machine. And finally, we're going to switch to manual mode. And right now we have it set that the machine's going to start at 1500, which is about 50% of its capacity. If I want to slow it down while I'm stitching, I would just hold down the white button. If I want to speed up the manual speed, I'll hold down the green button. So to start, I'll just tap. But then if I want to change speed, I'm going to hold. And then to stop, I'll also tap the button. So 1500. So I sped up a little bit, it seemed a little fast, so I slowed it down. I ended up finding that 1250 was good speed for the kind of quilting I was doing right now.